Hello, Namaskar, good evening. Welcome to yet another session of Candid Conversations. Today, I have something which is very important, not only for me, because someone I'm going to talk to is a great source of inspiration for me. Imagine this boy at the age of 24 was diagnosed with diabetes. He continued, loved his food, very passionate about food, has great zest for life. And after some time, his diabetes got a little out of hand and he had a problem. And the problem was that his toe had to be amputated. Now, that was not enough. His struggle continued. He kept fighting against all odds, always with a smile. A time came when he was told that he's suffering from renal failure and he needs a kidney transplant. He got that. And can you imagine, while that was happening, Gautam actually kept on smiling and never gave up. While his dialysis was happening, he suffered a heart attack and immediately had to undergo surgery and was rushed to hospital. Imagine the plight. Kept on waiting, kept on waiting for a kidney to come because he needed a donor and things were being worked out. And when he got a donor, uh, finally he got his transplant operation. As luck would have it, just after a few months, maybe a month or so post his surgery, he suffered from the dreaded COVID-19. He got out of that also. He kept on smiling, and he has always been a great source of inspiration for me. Gautam loves to cook. He's only 39 years old, but his spirit is absolutely fabulous. And today he's going to talk about his spirit as to how he keeps his sanity alive, how he remains positive. It's a lesson for all of us, especially in these troubled times we are undergoing. He's not given up, and I think he's one man who has a great to tell us, and we need to inspire ourselves by listening to him. I'll just wait for Gautam to join me the moment he joins me, and we are going to have a nice chat. I think he should be coming in any minute now. I'll just send him an invite. And I'm looking forward to seeing him. There he is.
Hello,
Hey hero, कैसा है?
Chal. I'm all right. How are you?
I'm absolutely fine. The moment I look at you, in any case, irrespective of circumstances, I feel my batteries are recharged and I feel completely motivated. You're a
Yeah,
terrific guy, Gogo. And I thought that it's very important for me to have a chat with you, not only for many other reasons, but the most important reasons is, you know how the world is going through, and sickness and illness is happening. And there are a lot of people who just run away and they, have in them a sense of fear. You have
yeah.
never shown, Gautam, you've never shown fear. You've taken everything with a smile, and by God's grace, God has favored you. Your own zest has favored you. Your enthusiasm has favored you. I would love you to tell your story to all those people who are watching us because they must know that people like you also exist and who can inspire others. But most of the time, I have also come to the conclusion that if your mind is stable and you think you are all right, 50% of your battle is won. So, Gautam,
Uh,
we have quite a few people watching us. I would be absolutely delighted if you can start your story starting now.
First of all, you give me too much credit. I always give this analogy of being a batsman, of being basically a tailender who doesn't know how to bat. he's just defending the ball. उसको बाउंसर आ रही है तो वो झुक जाता है, उसको पैरों पे आ रही है तो वो डिफेंस मार देता है, बट यही है,
There
अच्छा
are many
तो
there are many instances in the game of cricket. It's have been only the two tail-enders who won the match for the team.
yeah,
So you're one of
yeah,
those tail-enders who probably won the match for the team.
yeah, I try to swing once in a while, it edges and it goes for a run or two, but that's how I look at it. I'm just reacting to what is happening to me, you know, and and also I have a bone to pick with you. In your intro, you called me a chef. I think nowadays the term chef is thrown around too lightly. I'm not a chef. I'm a keen home cook. You know, so I was like, यार मेरे को chef बुला दिया. This is wrong. You know.
Home home chef bhi ho sakta hai.
Maybe, but I don't have the qualifications. I don't have the
Let's put it
credits.
let's put it that way, because I also say the same thing when people call me Chef Ashish Chopra. I said I'm a culinary historian. I'm not a chef. I've not earned a degree to be a chef properly. I'm a
Yeah,
passionate cook. So,
yeah,
all right, you are a passionate cook, and it's very obvious. And you and I, of course, we go back a long way because we are family to a large
yeah, yeah,
extent. And but with you, it's like a house on fire, because my connect is not only with you as being Gautam Mathur individually or a very close family friend, but
yeah,
also it's our common love for food, you know,
yeah,
which
absolutely.
binds us so beautifully. But nevertheless, that we will come to, because there is a lot to talk about. So it
Yeah.
would be wonderful that we talk about uh, what you have started.
Well, I mean, you've got to let's start at the start. Like, uh, you talk about strength and all that, where it comes from. I think it is a very important. So I used to think that my strength comes from my humor, you know,
Hmm.
and my humor comes from my mother, my
Hmm.
big personality, and my. I don't mean to toot my own horn, but when I am in a room, most eyes are
Hmm.
on me, and I used to think that comes from my mother, and that is all that is carrying me through till
Hmm.
now. For I mean, just to inform, my mother passed away when I was 17. So it's also more, you try to make that emotional connect. कि मैं जो भी हूँ, I'm because
Hmm.
of her. But as I've grown older and as I've observed my father and I
Hmm.
have always had, in the past, not now, but in the past, we've had portions of very tenuous relationships between him and I.
Hmm.
So I really couldn't understand him until I became a father myself, and I was a father for some time, and I as I'm going further, I'm just thinking of what kind of a man I want to be remembered as. I think about that a lot as
Hmm.
well. What kind of man I want, and I find that if my attitude is from my mother, then a lot of my strength is also from my father. Because he has withstood a lot, bringing up three kids as a single dad. He has withstood a lot, um and it's just one of those things. I think I have got part of me there as well. So yeah. Anyway, so that's how I start. That's I'd like to get that out of the way for people asking me, how do you have it? तो कैसे करता है यार? How do you just manage to laugh all the time? I think it's my genetics. It's in my genes. To just not let these things affect me. I have to say I will always get ahead of myself. So you have to bring me on track, Ashish. I'm one of those guys who's 10 steps ahead. You
Go
know?
ahead, I'm all ears. Go ahead, I'm all ears. And I love listening to you anyway. So
Yeah.
go ahead.
Yeah. So I mean that's it really. That's where it comes from. That's where it comes from. Now, what has happened? Uh, you know, I don't look at myself as a patient of anything. I look at situation. Everybody has their own. This is the one thing I've learned in dialysis.
Mm.
everything has everyone has their own struggles. And if you believe in God, you don't believe in God. I personally am of more of an atheistic. I don't like atheistic, but let's say I'm more of an agnostic bent of mind, you know. And uh, so, but you only get as much as you can withstand, you know. किसी को problem होगी, someone has a problem that he's got only 2,000 rupees in the bank. Oh my God, how is he going to survive? You know, and that's the most he can withstand. You know, if he comes to bankruptcy, he's gonna he's going to crumble. You
Mm.
know, ऐसे ही, I'm sure I also have a breaking point, and I feel like I've come close to the breaking point quite often. But I cry for 15 minutes, and then I get up and I say, okay, you know, it's fine. Forget about it. We'll deal with it when it happens. You know, there's so often you get bad news. A doctor gives you some bad news, or you know, your numbers are not good, and you are doing your best, you know, to kind of stay healthy, keep fit. But it happens. It happens every month or two. Or you know, in dialysis, I saw this every couple of months. A friend of mine used to die. You know, you're meeting the same people day in, day out for years. They become your friends. You know,
Yeah.
and every month or two, I used to lose a friend. You know, so you know, you reflect, you feel sad, you sometimes you're brought to tears. And but what is this? It's just life. You know, I mean, you just get up,
No,
you move on.
when you would get that news, right, while you were undergoing dialysis, and especially
Yeah,
you meeting all the kidney patients, and obviously dialysis, they're all talking to each other, and obviously kidney is also curable. Not that, I mean, people have survived. My own father,
yeah,
he underwent
correct.
a renal transplant operation, and he survived for many years. He
Yeah,
had a Had not been for an accident which you know had its fatal things in the long run, but he survived very well and lived a very normal life. The sugar
yeah,
came down, all that thing went on quite normal, and things were all right. I remember being with him in London when his transplant operation was taking place. And interestingly, it was my mother. She was a,
mm.
we were
The
looking for
donor.
a cadaver. She was, no,
Yeah,
her kidneys matched with my mother, with my
yeah, that's
father's.
amazing. That's
It's
amazing.
unbelievable. And we got this operation done at the London Bridge Hospital, because that was
Mm.
supposed to be famous for kidneys at that point in time. But
Yeah,
sometimes it happens that you break up, as which I understand. You're lying in the hospital and you suddenly, because each patient is overwhelmed with some emotion or the other, you know.
absolutely.
And suddenly, when you're not well, there's also a sense of hope. There's a sense of despair, but there's
Yeah,
also a huge sense of introspection and retrospection, because you
yeah.
start talking to yourself and you talk about life and you talk about philosophy, and suddenly you become a philosopher.
Oh
You
yeah.
could even read, and
I
you
was a
don't have to.
मैं तो born philosopher था. अब तो मैं निजी लेवल का philosopher हो गया हूँ. You
But
know?
Bertha, जब ये होता था,
Yeah.
would you always talk yourself out of it?
Um, Most of the time,
Yes,
uh, I try not to share these things with my family. With
yes,
by my family, I mean with my wife and my daughter, obviously.
oh,
I
yes,
I if there is anybody I share these things with, it's my siblings. You know,
yes,
I talk to Arjun a lot. Him and I are
yes,
as close can be. And
yes.
even Sonia, now that she's grown up, Sonia is my sister, Arjun is my brother.
I know. I know.
No, I'm
And
telling
Arjun
you.
is, yeah, and
Yeah,
Arjun is actually already online and he's listening to our conversation. And I think
yeah.
so is Sonia. Yeah.
No, no, they are my biggest fanboys. You know, they are and fangirl. Let me be gender equal, because I get fired by my daughter nowadays for not being so. So, you know, I talk to them. If there's anybody I talk to, I talk to them. Anyway, so yeah, but the worst I've broken down was after the cardiac arrest, because I wasn't expecting that. I didn't know what happened. By the way, I'm not 39, I'm 43 in a month, you know.
Okay, okay,
Uh,
okay.
yeah,
You're still young about it, it doesn't matter. So
yeah,
you still
yeah, no,
young.
but I had just turned 40 then. And interestingly, I had met this idiot of a South African doctor
Mhm,
who had told me, if you pull past 40, you'd be lucky. And that came back to me. He told me that when I was 29 or 28 or something. And interestingly, 2 months after my 40th birthday, I had the cardiac arrest. And I was in the hospital, and I completely broke down one night. So I wanted to know what happened because I didn't even realize it's happened to me. I remember telling the nurse, I'm not feeling good, help me, and off. And the next thing I remember is hearing my mother's voice mixed with my wife's voice.
mhm,
It was like my mother started speaking and it ended up as my wife's voice. And I woke up, you know, and
mhm.
all that happened during the time that of those 24, 25, 26 hours that I was that I was out. And and so I was waiting uh, for someone to tell me what happened. And it took a few days. It took a few days for me to realize. It took a few days for someone to come and actually talk to me.
Mhm.
It was my cousin's wife who came and she told me exactly what happened and what happened at home. And when she left, I just broke down, not because of what happened to me, but because of what my wife and my daughter must have gone through. And I just couldn't deal with that. And that was, I think that was for me personally the toughest time I faced, because once someone tells you that you died for a certain amount of time, I think I was gone for 3 minutes or something, you
Yeah.
know, and first of all, that is something incredible that you only read about in Chicken Soup for the Soul.
Mhm,
It's not something that you can even imagine could happen to you. And then
mhm,
secondly, you hear what happened to my wife at that time and how my daughter was reacting and how my dogs are sad and how my father in India was thing. And when I called and I spoke to after I came back, and after they woke me up, my when I called and I spoke to my family in India, how they reacted, it was just that is what got to me. My God, you know. And what overwhelmed me was the amount of love and good wishes I was getting. Like people I had lost touch with. So one thing I must tell you, when I started getting sick, right? When I was still
mhm,
working, but I started getting sick, and
mhm,
my life became about one question: how you
mhm,
feeling? How's your health? That really annoyed me. That really irritated me. I said, is this my identity? You know? And I started staying away from people.
mhm.
You know, then the few people that I did, sorry, I keep stopping because my phone, people are sending me messages and I'm like, it's very distracting because I can hear the sound in the phone, you know.
Mhm.
So anyway, so I stayed away from people anyway. I then made it a point to only be with people who I actually care about or who care about me,
Mhm.
you know. And even I must say, out of those people, it taught me something about life, and I don't blame anyone for this. If anyone is to blame for anything that has happened to me in life, agar kuch blame hai, then it lies with me. I don't blame anyone for this. I don't begrudge anyone. But even the people I used to hang around with,
Mhm.
slowly they stopped inviting me for things,
Mhm.
or they stopped coming over. Because in their minds, before I can say, look, I'm unwell, they are thinking, look, he's unwell, don't disturb him.
Mhm.
Let him be. Oh, he probably won't come. You know, and that really, really, really got to me. Yes, I might probably not come, but give me a call and say we are doing this, you know, so that at least I feel like I'm in the loop. You know. So yeah, so then I started not meeting and not talking to people even more,
Mm.
you know, and so did my wife, because her struggle is as big as my struggle has been, and I must
Yes,
acknowledge that, her struggle has been, again, I don't like the word struggle, but she's gone through the same that as I have gone through. If I was going through it
understand,
physically,
understandable. Yes.
if I was going through it physically, she was going through it emotionally, much more than I was. So yeah, so that is the thing. I mean, if you want to start at the start, from where my life started to where it has ended up, nobody would have thought that this would be the trajectory that I've taken. I was a pampered child. I was, I mean, the kind of indulgences people who grew up in five-star hotels and all have,
Yes.
and that's the life I led. I was always looked after. I was always, the in my mother's side of the family, I was the first grandchild.
Mm.
In my father's side also, my Dadaji had a little special bond for me because I was the son's oldest son, I think. Also, I had time for him. I would
Yes.
write his journals for him. I would try and sit and learn his thing from him. So, I mean, where it started off, and my personality, and where I seem to be headed, where it started off, and where it ended up, it's kind of mind-boggling. I'm thinking of writing an autobiography, actually, but not an autobiography, a biographical story of a man
Mm.
with events that happened to me, kind of something like that. So yeah, so I mean, I can't say anymore. you know.
No, no, but it's just absolutely amazing that how you pull through against all odds. So, do you realize that? I mean, you said that you would always tell me that, Ashish, as a youngster, because I was pampered so much, when I was discovered I had diabetes, I took things very lightly, and I did not realize that I should have taken it more seriously. Is that true?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Like I said, blame lies with me. Now, I discovered that I had diabetes when I was about 24 or something.
Yes.
Now, at that age, the world is in front of you. You've just kind of started working.
Mm-hmm.
And you think you're invincible. The stupidity of youth, the stupidity of your teenagers has still not gone in your 20s. You think you're grown up, but actually you're not. You're just starting out, you're learning things, you're meeting your friends, you're partying, you're going to social, you're drinking as much as you can. Yeah, you can control your diet, but if five friends are together and they're drinking, you're going to drink along with them,
Mm.
and if you already have a reputation of being a tank, you know so how can you not live up to that reputation then? So these excesses, not sleeping on time, I still don't sleep on time, that is besides the question, but all these indulgences I did do. So I did bring myself to this point where my legs failed, my eyes failed, my heart failed, my kidneys failed, everything. There is a little problem with everything. I'm going for laser. I did have laser treatment for diabetic retinopathy. I had the bypass after the cardiac arrest for diabetic heart disease. My kidney failure is caused by diabetic kidney disease. So I mean, everything. I've got neuropathy in my hands and my feet. So yeah, so it's the gift that keeps giving, this disease. And I wish I was more educated at that time. It took my grandmother, and my mother was always paranoid about me getting diabetes. But that I only remember in hindsight. We were going through Papa's files, and there Dad has a I might have written on a piece of paper when I was 3 years old. So we found one medical record, some one-off blood test when I am about 15 or 16, I don't remember clearly, where I am borderline. You know, where
Oh.
my PP is borderline.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
you know and then I remember that my mum used to send me to this specialist office to do exercise, and that woman used to make me exercise every day for that happened for a month or something, and and I guess after that my results came back to normal, you know. So I am not aware of it. Sorry, so I am not aware of it. I wasn't aware of it in my 20s, but yes, that was, and we only became really aware when I was 26 or 27, and I had a corn, and one night before Diwali, the corn cracked, and there was blood all over my floor, you know, and we were taken to the hospital, and I go to the hospital. The doctor says, "Oh, your sugar is 350." You know, for people in England, your sugar is 20. My sugar was 20. Just in case anyone from England is listening, so that's when we realized how how serious kind of it can be. But even then, I was still working, and every day before and after work, I would go to the doctor and I would get my foot curated, which I can blame the doctor. It shouldn't have been done every day. It should actually have been done every 3 or 4 days, you know. But he did it every day, and now in hindsight, we know that it should have been done every 3 or 4 days. But us time, 20 saal pehle, that was the norm. That was the education. Not every doctor knew what to do. Anyway, so I struggled with that for almost 3 years, and when I was 28 or something, I finally had to have an amputation. My big toe got amputated, first on one foot, and then that got infected, and I then my other foot also got infected, and that foot had to be amputated. I got sepsis. You know, I was in hospital for 15 days or something with sepsis. And at that time, how old was my daughter? My daughter was just over a year old, So, I mean, it was tough. I wouldn't say it wasn't tough. And then I had to quit working, obviously. I had no income, but as a young guy who had just started his life and who had just about come up, gone from entry level to the next level, I had just bought a car for myself, and I was paying the EMIs on the car, and things like that. And suddenly I couldn't find. I found myself out of a job, because I wasn't performing. They said, "Sorry, I don't think it's working out," and I said, I think you're right, you know, but I stopped working, and that created a lot of tension in the house because I mean, my father, and I understand where he's coming from today. My father couldn't understand कि ये घर पे क्यों बैठा है, ये काम क्यों नहीं कर रहा, contribute क्यों नहीं कर रहा है. He's the biggest member of this household size wise. You know, he should contribute, and I'm not contributing. What do I do? That created some friction between him and me. And yeah, and the friction got so much that first of all, Shonali started working and lifting the heavy weight. But working in India for someone who had never worked before, really, whatever she was getting paid, 32,000 a month or whatever, it wasn't enough because my insulin was and my medication cost was close to 10,000. My the nappies and the diapers and all were about 7-8 thousand. My car is 5,000. So what the hell are you eating? So anyway, so she decided during that time, because I was a British citizen, I was born here. That is one fortunate thing, one fortunate event in my life. And every adult in my life, be it my nana, my mama, my dad, my mom, they all want to take credit for it. कि ये मेरी planning थी. Anyway, so it was probably my nana's planning, that the children should be born here. And I was born here, so I had a British passport. Divya had a British passport. And by that thing, they gave Shonali a fiance visa, a spouse visa. And she decided to come here to look for work and to bring us here because here I would get treatment on the NHS. you know. So, so the NHS, then I came here, and all this while I had communication between my father and me had completely broken down, you
Mhm.
know. And of course, it was bothering me, as I'm sure it must have bothered him also, you know.
Did with that.
Things, yeah, things came to a head when he came here and I didn't meet him, you know. And it really upset me. It was really, I was frustrated, you know. I was fighting. I was emotional. I'm a very emotional guy, you know.
That
So
I
I
know.
was, yeah, I was extra emotional. I was fighting. All this was happening, and I had to actually take therapy, you know. So I underwent therapy. The therapist, I mean, this writing exercise really helps, you know.
Mm,
The therapist told me to write down on paper, like a letter that you're sending your father. Say everything you want to say.
mhm.
So over the course of those 5, 6 sessions, or 6 sessions, or how many other sessions, I wrote. You know, I just wrote. And there was a lot of nonsense in it. I had to curate a lot of it later. And one fine day, I just decided to send it to him, you know.
Mm.
So I don't believe in writing in pen. I'm one of those guys who needs to type on a keyboard. So I had typed it all in. So I just, that Word document as it is, I copied, pasted, removed whatever I wanted to, and I just sent it to him as an email. You know.
Mm.
So that then opened up a communication channel for us. But even then, I wasn't eager to meet him at all. I wanted to first build that communication up and then start meeting him. And after that, I mean, that was about over 10 years ago now. But after that, thankfully, for the last 11, 12 years, our relationship has been, just growing. And I mean, there's a little bit of understanding and learning to be done on both parts.
Mm.
Uh, my dad also and me also, I think both of us have started seeing the other person's side. And as you only said, how my attitude is, how I'm kind of, how I take everything. I have become that. You know, I have become like the duck. जो बोलते हैं water over a duck's back. That's I am that duck. Everything is watered over
Aren't
my back.
you, aren't you feeling much lighter, Gautam, after your perception has changed towards life? And probably
Absolutely.
there's a level of calmness, especially, because I understand exactly what you're saying, because I'm also suffering half of your problems that you are.
Yeah.
Diabetic
Yeah.
neuropathy, multiple issues, walking, falana, dimkana, but that's besides the point. Important thing is that it is evolving us. It's evolving you as a person.
Yeah.
And at the end of
Absolutely.
the day, your father is such a fantastic human being because you know how close I am to him.
Yeah.
I share a very beautiful bond with him. And
Yeah.
I've seen him, worry about you, especially when your transplant was happening, multiple things were happening. And
Yeah.
he was preparing to actually go to London. And he went to London to donate his
Twice,
kidneys
three,
because you were
5 times, five
three
times
times.
he came to London.
And look,
Yeah.
exactly, and look at the disaster that happened because more importantly, uh, circumstances came that you were your transplant could be not done and you were not getting a cadaver, so he had to donate his kidneys, and he was mentally prepared for everything and fit and fine, and some legal hassles happened or whatever, some technical issues happened, but God was very kind. You found a cadaver,
I'll tell you,
unbelievable.
I'll tell you what's the most incredible thing about this. So this is a kidney exchange program that they run. First, dad said, I want to donate. He didn't match me.
Mhm.
Then there is a exchange program where dad donates to someone. There's a pool, and that someone donates to me. You know, so it's a chain. That chain, they found a great match for me. Like she was a 98% match. As good a match as can be. But she was also sick. She had some infection that just wasn't going. So that surgery, I was supposed to have a transplant on 10th June. 10th June got postponed to 25th September. 25th September got postponed, and literally postponed one day before,
Mm.
you know, the operation is supposed to be. Uh, and that didn't happen. So we waited for a year and a half. And then one fine day, I'm sitting at dialysis this year in March, and he says, "Mr. Mathur, please come tonight. We found a kidney for you." You know, Ashish, I never wanted my dad to donate. You know, I just didn't want him to donate because he didn't want any one of the younger people to donate. Shonali said, "I will donate." He didn't want her to donate. Why? He said, "Beta, you guys are young. What if another problem arises when you guys are old, or what if he needs another kidney when you guys are older? So then you can donate to him. Then he can get another kidney." So it was all about prolonging my life. He said, "I'm hitting 70. I don't care how much more I go on." As in, of course he cares, but it's really, he's lived his life. We still have more than half our lives to live. So he came, he said, and so my worry was, yeah, dad is getting old. You only get weaker when you get old. Whatever else you say, however healthy you are, your system it's been running for 70 years. It is kind of getting a little worn out.
Mm.
You know, I didn't want him to donate, and I used to pray that I get a cadaver before dad has to donate, and that happened. And that, to me, it was when I got the news of getting a cadaver kidney. It was the best news I could have got. My first thing was, thank God dad doesn't have to donate. So that's how I was thinking through this. It really was incredible,
Yeah,
how it
absolutely.
happened.
So finally, by God's grace, your transplant operation went off very successful. You recovered very well, and another setback happened, which is as uh, in the near that you
It was
were
Yeah,
so
that
you
was
were
that
diagnosed
was
with,
scary.
yes, so you were diagnosed with COVID all of a sudden within a month
Yeah.
of your transplant operation. What went through
So
your mind? I mean, what went through your mind? It was uh, because I've spoken to you so many times while you've been in hospital, Gautam. I still
yeah,
remember you were, you were relishing on that bloody burger. This was
yeah,
so tempting.
yeah,
When you and I had a chat in the hospital. I mean, it
yeah.
was just amazing.
It
I
was
said,
a
look at
Sunday
this.
meal in the hospital.
Yeah, I said, look at this guy. You know, he's just got out of his heart operation. You know,
Yeah,
he's right now in the hospital. He's
yeah.
just sort of chilling out, and he's enjoying his this thing. And I know, that your love for cooking is very, very strong. You still love to cook. So many times we've had a video chat, and you've taken me to your kitchen in England, right? I remember,
Mhm.
and you've been cooking and a couple of other things. You were showing me your barbecue grill and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
It was it was quite amazing. So when you got this bloody news, dreaded news, because I have not moved out of my house since
Yeah.
the 18th of March, except
Yeah.
twice or thrice to show my eyes to the doctor because that was necessary. I had undergone, same problem,
Yeah.
laser. I had a hemorrhage in my left eye, so I was treating it. So it took me a little while. But when you got this story, remember, and when you heard this, what went in your mind? You was just a boom. It's like bad news. And did you lose hope or you pulled yourself out of it? Because you look like a young boy, as always, and you look so wonderful, touchwood, that nobody can say that you've gone through so much in life.
So I have to tell you this. It's very interesting. I had my transplant on the 14th of March, which was the last day they did transplants. After that, they did no transplants because COVID had taken us in full swing.
Mm,
Boris Johnson had not shut down the UK yet.
mm,
But my family, that day my daughter stopped going to school. सब खत्म कर दिया हमने. हमने अपने आप
mm,
को हमारे घर में पर्सनल लॉकडाउन कर दिया और मैं हॉस्पिटल में था. So
mm,
for the first 2-3 days, they keep you in the high intensity ward. Where until you can walk, get up, sit on the chair on your own.
mm,
So second day or so, I got up, I walked to the chair, I sat in the chair. So they were quite happy with that development. So they sent me to the general
Mm.
ward, So now I'm in the general ward. So I'm hearing, oh, you hear the nurses talk at night when the patients are asleep. I don't
Mm.
sleep much, so I know, मेरी light बंद होती है लेकिन मेरा laptop on होता है और पर्दा. So I'm hearing the nurses talk, at the door or whatever, that, oh, it's on the fifth floor. The fifth floor has been locked down. अगले दिन मैं सुन रहा हूँ, the fourth floor, it's reached the fourth floor. Now the fourth floor is locked down. And now the floors are completely shut. Patients have been sent home. Now it's on the third floor. Third floor pe aa gaya, they came to me. I was still supposed to be in the hospital for 1 more week. Third floor pe aa gaya, they came to me, they said, sorry, since you are moving around on your own, you have to go home and we will call you for clinic in 4 days. So they chucked me out of the hospital. We were literally trying to outrun COVID.
Mm.
And but I got it then. Because मंडे को मैं घर आया, और थर्सडे को मेरे को क्लिनिक पे बुलाया था. थर्सडे को I went for the clinic, and on Thursday they took my bloods, and they said, oh, your potassium is high, can you come back? So I went back to the hospital for a drip,
Mm.
of potassium, of whatever medicine that reduces potassium. I had that drip. I came home the next day. I'm like, listen, I've got fever. Now, the coronavirus, it stays in your system for 1 week before, 1 or 2 weeks before you get the symptoms.
Mm.
It's already in you. You'll see this, you'll get it after 2 weeks, but it's already in you. So then I had the COVID. I went to the hospital. First of all, they took my temperature right at the gate of the unit,
Mm.
at the door.
Mm.
They said, oh, your temperature is high. They just packed me off somewhere else, like a Harijan. You go there,
Mm.
I'm here. They packed me off to another place, and there were 1 or 2 more patients, and they were very far from me. I was sitting in the back of the room. They were there. We met a doctor, and they took my bloods. And the nurse, who's an experienced nurse who had also had it already,
Mm.
she tells me, it looks like COVID. We are
Mm.
waiting. We will have to wait for the results for 2 days,
Mm.
but it's COVID. I can tell looking at you. You know. So yeah, what do you do? Ekdam se you've heard horror stories. All that people have been hearing are horror stories about COVID, right? And I'm diabetic, and I'm doubly thing because I'm just off a transplant. My immunity is completely zero, and I am one of the weakest people on the planet right now. Because I've just had transplant. I'm on immunosuppressants. I'm diabetic. I've got all the complications possible. So the first thought in my head was, oh shit, COVID. And then the second thought was, boss, you didn't get a transplant just to die of bloody coronavirus. You know, if you had to die, you would have died there. But you got that. You're supposed to stay alive, so this is not going to get you. And that is still my attitude. I didn't develop antibodies. Even though I got it, I didn't develop antibodies. I was I mean I was given the instruction that if you get breathless enough that you can't complete your sentence, then you uh, then you come to go to A&E, accident emergency, or call the ambulance. Otherwise, just relax. Stay at home, take paracetamol. You can't take any other painkillers or anything but paracetamol. And my brother-in-law, who was sitting in India, he said just keep giving him warm water with ginger,
Mm.
with lemon, and warm water with lemon, and give him ginger tea. Just give him warm fluids, give him ginger tea, and steam karo. Jitni zyada kar sakte ho. Steam, just keep steaming.
Mm.
So, because of all these WhatsApp forwards that come, these because of these WhatsApp forwards, everybody in India had more information on how to deal with it than we did here.
Mm.
Uh, so that's what we started doing. So I was getting for a good 10 out of the 14 days, I had
Mm.
really high temperature. I had really, really high temperature. Like it was uh, 39.5, which I don't know, 103, 104 maybe. So
Mm-hmm.
that level of temperature I had every day. I was exhausted, exhausted to the point I was sleeping about 16 to 18 hours a day. And every time I would wake up, it would be, सांस तो चल रही है, wheezing तो नहीं हो रही, हाँ, okay, I'll live today. That's literally my every morning used to start like this. Am I breathing? Yeah, okay. I'm going to live. I'm going to live right now for some time. you know, that's so that fear, it's just inside you. It just grabs you because the doctors have said that you are you are thing. And I don't fear death. I don't fear dying. I fear what my family will go through if something happens to me. What will happen to them? I mean, they will, okay, I might not provide for them financially, but I do provide for them emotionally. I do have that contribution in their life. I honestly, I have a feeling not only for these guys, for Shona and Divya, but even for my whole family, my dad and my siblings, I'm kind of the glue that binds. That's my role. Everybody has a role, in a family. So I think I am kind of the glue that binds. So I have uh, so I got a sneak peek of what happened to them when I had the heart attack. I didn't want. I knew what would happen to them if something happens. That's what I fear. So I'm always look at what Arjun has written.
Arjun
Anyway,
says, Arjun says, you have been the biggest thing in my life, which
yeah,
is true.
so yeah, so things like this. So it so that's what I think about, that what's going to happen to these guys without me, and that's what kind of kept me going, कि नहीं यार आज नहीं, मैं दिन में 7-8 बार steam करता था. Literally, my wife used to just keep coming with this big trough of steam. And I was telling you a funny thing that happened. So I was isolated. I was in another room. So I used to watch movies with the laptop on my bedside, you know, and
And you got on to watch South Indian movies, I remember.
now I'm watching
You
only South
watching,
Indian movies. Yeah,
and why is
I'm
that?
only. That is because, jo commercial Bollywood, you know, I find it too pretentious. I'm sick and tired of all the doom and gloom that is on Netflix and Amazon Prime and all that. Everything is serious. Nobody seems to be making comedies. And I don't have the mental wavelength to kind of get into something serious. You
You
know,
want happy.
I want frivolous things, you know. So, and what can be more frivolous than a Telugu movie with Mahesh Babu pushing one guy who goes and who slams horizontally into 400 guys, and all 400 of them fly in the air? you know, it is so unreal that it's great. It's amazing. So nowadays I'm only watching that. And actually, I've fallen in love with Tamil. So I'm teaching myself German through apps, and I have actually found this lady who I had met in India when I was a kid, and we reconnected on Facebook. And I asked her, will you help me? She said, of course. So I was quite surprised that through apps I could write. I have learned enough to write a full email to her, you know. So that is an
In German.
achievement, I think. Yeah, in German. And whatever I don't get, and there were about 5-6 words I didn't get in the whole email. It was a full, proper, almost a full page email. Some 5-6 words I didn't get. I checked on Google, But otherwise, so next language I want to attempt after German is Tamil. I just think it's beautiful, you know. So anyway, yeah, so I was sitting and I was watching a movie on the laptop. My wife came in with the trough. She put the trough next to me on the floor, and she sat on the bedside table, and the laptop just fell into the trough of boiling hot water, and I pulled
Okay.
it out within a second. But my dreams, I could hear my dreams sizzle with the computer going, सब जल गया उसके अंदर, you know. And she was so, poor lady was so much, she was so distressed कि मैंने इसका laptop तोड़ दिया. Before I woke up the next morning, she had already ordered me another one. You know?
How sweet.
Yeah. So that's how she think. But that was, yeah. So I just लेटा रहता था, फालतू की फिल्में देखता रहता था, और और बस सांस प्रैक्टिस करता रहता था. Steam. Even at night when I would sleep, they would keep like hot water in my room with eucalyptus or nimbu or something, so that air keeps circulating. There's moisture in the air. Because the phlegm you get, very thick phlegm, you put it in a tissue and then you try to open the tissue, it gets stuck on the tissue. Apparently, it's dead cells from your lungs that are coming out in that phlegm. You know?
So that phlegm is, you say, is dangerous.
Yeah, that is the killer. Once that phlegm reduced, then I started feeling, theek hai. But that phlegm didn't reduce for a good 10, 11 days. And you know what? On the 14th day, the fever was completely gone. The phlegm was completely gone. Then I had the other symptoms of just being generally tired, but that was because of the surgery also. And of course, being uh, my taste gone, the sense of taste gone. I could still smell, but I couldn't taste.
Hmm.
Another thing that happened during COVID, my stitch. I was coughing so much that my stitch from my surgery, I don't know, here, it just burst open.
Oh shit.
Yeah, I was sitting on in the loo and it just burst open. I had to get into bed immediately, call the emergency services, and then the emergency services were told just to kind of tightly wrap it. And the next morning, I was sent to the hospital. To Hammersmith Hospital where I had my surgery, which is not close to my house, which is about a 45-minute drive from my house. So yeah, so that was the COVID story.
Yeah, but you got out of it, and that's more important at the end of the day. And you were
Yeah,
able
yeah,
to
yeah.
sort of maintain self-control and all sorts of things. So that,
Uh,
I think that's fantastic. Now
yeah.
forget the sickness because it's over and gone, and I'm sure uh, we are hoping for better times to have come and things like that. Because we need to be extremely positive in that.
Yeah.
Tell me your food. Being a hardcore foodie,
uh,
it's very torturous. For example, a person like me, being a food historian, who
yeah.
documents food, who writes on food, travels to every bloody corner of India just for researching and documenting food. And I'm also suffering from all sorts of problems. But,
Yeah.
you get lured, you get tempted because we are in a catch-22 situation. If you don't
Yeah.
eat, it's miserable. And if you behave normally, I think you should still behave normally, but have maybe a sustained control over your intake of food more than
Yeah.
anything else.
Yeah.
How did what was going through your mind when suddenly, pork chops and lamb stew and, stuff like that, which you would love,
Yeah.
suddenly doctors say, don't eat this, stop eating rice, don't do that. What went through your mind at that point of time?
Well, the approach to nutrition is very different here than it is in India. Here, they
Okay,
haven't they haven't
before,
asked me to.
before you
Sorry.
talk that, there's a huge public demand. And Arjun says you better flash your tattoo.
1 minute. Uh, Hang on. I'll have to show it like this. Let me turn the camera around if I can. I don't know
Yes,
how to do
please do
that.
that.
I don't know how to do that. So I don't know. Can you
Oh,
see
we
it?
can see that. That's just beautiful.
Yeah, that is the three women who have
Yes.
who have made me. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a lily wrapped and a ribbon wrapped around it. So the lily is a representation of Shonali, who's my wife,
Mm-hmm.
which is her favorite flower. And
Mm-hmm.
why I didn't write her name is because what if we get separated? Who knows what happens later on in life? हम बुढ़े हो गए तो we'll say बहुत हो गया है, enough, you know. So there's a lily, and then on the ribbon we have in Hindi Divya and Niche Renu, which was my mother's name.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So My other tattoo, one I will get once I'm off immunosuppressants, is going to be face fearful odds,
Mm,
which is which is well my motto in life. In school, we did a poem called Horatius,
mm,
which was written by Lord Macaulay. It was about I think the Romans defending this bridge from some enemies,
mm,
and so there's this bridge and there's this gorge at the end of the bridge. So
mm,
so if the enemy gets on the bridge, they are
mm,
going to destroy the town. They're going to destroy Rome. So how do what do you do? So this general called Horatius, captain of the gate, called Horatius, he says, I will, you guys break the bridge while me and three people will block the forge. And if we are at the forge, we can stop 1,000 men.
mm, mm,
So in there, he says, how can man die better than facing fearful odds, you know, for the spirit of his ancestors and the service of his and the temples of his gods, or something to that effect. And then he goes
mm.
on for the mother and the baby and the this and the, you know.
Yeah.
But that facing fearful odds, it struck a nerve with me, So I take that as my thing. There's someone from my school who's saying Panorama. Panorama was a poetry book,
Mm.
and this poem was in that. And in school, I don't think you got it, but that facing fearful odds is always, for the last 15, 20 years, has just stuck
So
with me.
your dad is shocked that you have a tattoo. So there's
Yeah,
a
he
he probably didn't know that, right? That you have a
no,
tattoo.
he knew that, but he chooses to ignore things, that he doesn't like, he ignores them. So,
I think it's kind
yeah.
of sweet. That's a very good thing that you, and it's a very beautifully made tattoo, I must say. It's
Yeah,
absolutely
yeah,
wonderful.
yeah. Yeah, good Italian guys did it, and yeah. But it's also an expensive hobby to have, tattoos. Just a basic black tattoo costs pretty, what, 300 pounds or something.
No, no, no. But in India, it's comparatively cheap. I always wanted to get a tattoo, but I was refused. And I wanted to get a tattoo because, I love my chilies. And I wanted my Naga chilies to come up. So I wanted to, have that tattoo of this Bhoot Jalokia, right?
Ashish,
And
Ashish, Ashish, you keep your sugar in control for 1 week, and you can get one. Just trust me, because even I suffer from a lot of fluctuations and all that happens in my life also. But if it's in
mm,
control for 1 week, and then a week after, not only 1 week, get the tattoo and then forget about it. But till it heals, uh,
mm,
you'll be fine. You get it. Who are you
mm.
asking? Who are you taking permission from? Not Priscilla. Not Priscilla. Sorry, Priscilla, but I mean the doctors and all, forget about them. They always give you the
Yeah.
worst case scenario.
So Priscilla normally never stops me from doing things that I want to do. That way,
Yeah,
she's all right. She only gets angry if I eat more than is necessary for me.
yeah,
And
yeah.
my Malini is watching us from Australia. She says, please don't give him any ideas. Now, I think that's a great idea to have a tattoo. And I'm quite sure that I'm going to have one sooner than later. I'm quite
Yeah,
convinced now. I've been
yeah.
wanting to, I've been wanting to have this Gautam for many, many years. You know,
But
I
but
I have a
we
friend who owns a wonderful tattoo studio. He's a fabulous artist, and I've seen him do it. I've seen, him structure it and work around. So I think it'll be nice for me to maybe, have a tattoo with my dad's initials or, stuff like that
yeah,
because
yeah. Why not?
it's great. I mean, it becomes part of your system. And why not?
Yeah,
It's,
yeah,
these are things which are permanently cemented in your system. And I think there's nothing wrong. It's a great
yeah. And
part.
and just make sure that the guy opens a new set of needles just for you and disposes of them, just for you, just after you're done. I mean, just make sure the hygiene is intact, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and they're
Okay, we are running
sterilized and
short of time. We have only 24 seconds left. So I'll
okay.
have to cut short. Maybe I'll come back again. But in any case, thank you everybody for watching. Gotham is indeed an inspiration for all of us. Stay blessed, stay safe, and thank you, Gotham, so much for coming online. I'm getting back to you in the next session in another 5 minutes. All right?